Welcome to Finest Work Songs. My name is Matt.
My name is also Matt. This epipod today is the natural progression of this season, if you really think about it. I mean, it totally makes sense.
That's right.
We started with Shania Twain.
Queen of pop country.
Right. Then we moved to Fleetwood Mac.
Lindsey Buckingham. She's got a beautiful voice.
Yeah, and Stevie Nicks, man, he can play that guitar.
Yeah. Stevie Ray Nicks.
Yeah, our last one was Tina Turner.
Bombastic powerhouse female icon.
That theme of like strong, powerful women. So naturally, our next epipod would be OK Computer.
Yes.
Tom York was really the Taylor Swift of our generation.
That's right. In that we dissected everything they said or did or posted. Mm-hmm. Yes, they were.
Exactly. So we have had some of our finest work fans call out on social media like,
you guys suck.
Besides that, some have picked up on the fact that we'll do an epipod on an artist. In the process of talking about that artist, we might reference someone else, like who guests on it or was inspired by it. And then for whether coincidence or not, it sort of dovetails and we do that artist that season.
So they picked up on that.
So someone picked up on it.
Pretty good.
For instance, we do We Are the World. But next we do Lionel Richie because, so on and so on.
Speaking of the Taylor Swift of the 90s, the Taylor Swift of today has caused a bit of havoc in my house with my Swiftie, former guest, MC. Mm-hmm. They've been pretty excited about the new album, those Swifties.
Sure.
And dissecting videos. And we kind of, in our household, we all brace ourselves a bit. Like you kind of prepare yourselves for a storm coming.
Oh, tornado Taylor.
Yeah.
Yep.
You tape up the windows. Mentally prepare yourself that, anytime I see my daughter, this is what she's going to be talking about for the next 2 weeks at least, if not months.
Right. You hanging in there?
Yeah. Album's not that great.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Heard that sentiment.
Especially 20 songs.
Yeah. Who is she? Ryan Adams?
She's chasing that Ryan Adams dream.
Because she released the album and then she...
A couple hours later.
Snuck about another
7
album
tracks.
Yeah. Well, I hope you got lots of bottled water and canned food so you can hunker down and ride this one out.
We've talked about it before. I do respect and admire the fandom of the Swifties and all that Taylor provides for them. Today's a good episode because this is an obsessive band for many of us. Mm-hmm. You look for any Easter eggs or any, at the time, B-sides or the CD singles that had a couple B-sides from Japan or anything like that. An obsessive worthy band, just like Taylor.
Exactly.
And this will come out.
At the pace we're doing these, it'll come out, Valentine's Day?
Yeah, that's right. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Yeah, all right. Hey, let's make some melting pot jokes.
No, this will come out after. After?
That's the British way of saying it. They spell after, A-F-T-O-U-R.
Yeah.
After.
Matt, as of this recording, it's almost midterm elections.
That's right.
So, as usual, we are timely with our politically savvy OK Computer. Of course, we had that planned out.
No, totally. We're like, hey, what's a super timely political album for the times? How about this album that's 25 years old? But actually, it kind of is.
It is.
It was actually ahead of its time.
That's right.
With a lot of the topics and ethos and everything else.
If you spin it backwards, it says like...
No more gerrymandering.
Yeah.
That would totally be like the Radiohead and like REM way of like, hey, we're going to put backwards messages on.
Yeah.
But instead of like, pray to Satan, it's like, recycle this CD box.
Exactly. Resist climate change. Matt, before we get into the music, what do you have for us?
We, as you know, have really loyal, dedicated listeners. The Finest Work fans are so great to us with their kind words and thoughts, and they're engaging with us all the time on social media. Really can't say enough about our listeners. And sometimes you guys send in email to us, and things are weighing heavy on your mind. You've got thoughts, you've got questions. I don't know why you come to us, but you do, and we appreciate that. Yeah, every now and then we get these emails, and we just feel like we have to share them with everyone else. So we do that in a little segment we call Kenny Gmail. This Kenny Gmail, in response to our Jimmy Eat World Bleed American epipod with Micah, was our guest. And this comes from Randall Pember 86789 at gmail.com.
Welcome, Randall.
And Randall writes, thank you for the good write-up. It in truth was once a leisure accountant. Glance complicated to more added agreeable from you, exclamation point. By the way, how can we be in contact?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Glance complicated.
I think, Randall, you've taken that first step for us to be in contact by participating in Kenny Gmail, but we get lots of compliments on our write-ups.
That's right.
Really good. I mean,
do you have a side hustle, Matt?
Unlike you, I don't have another podcast where I'm complaining about the other host.
Oh, yeah. By the way, let me go ahead and put in a plug. As you can hear already from this podcast, I've got a fiery episode of talking shit about Matt that'll be coming up soon. It's dropping Thanksgiving Day. It's going to sync up to the parade.
God, it'd be amazing.
Anyway, back to our
podcast. Yeah, you really should listen to it. I'm sure it's fantastic. He says, it in truth was once a leisure account. A leisure account. Maybe so when we started this thing, like most bands and artists, you get into it for the art and the passion and the love of it. And then, we sold out. I mean, let's be honest.
Are you trying to tell me that this is now a chore?
Hey, don't put words in my mouth. But we got to keep the corporate hacks happy.
We're going to have a documentary that's like the Radiohead Meeting People is Easy, where it follows them in their miserable time. It'll be me up there like making coffee. It's dark out and being like, practicing. Welcome to Find Us. Welcome to Find. And it shows you like walking up the driveway. It's cold. You're out there smoking. I guess I just do this for. I don't know why I do it anymore.
It was fun when we started.
Yeah.
We had so much passion. We thought we were going to change the world.
A car drives by and honks. You flick them off.
Flick the cigarette down. Step on. Like, well, I guess we got to go do this thing.
All right. Well, thanks, Randall.
Yeah, thanks, Randall.
We can promise that there is still leisure accounted.
Thank you, Randall, for the Kenny Gmail. And if anyone else has some deep thoughts or questions you want to send our way, you can send them to finestworksongs@gmail.com, and maybe we'll read one of your emails in a future Kenny Gmail segment.
We are super excited to jump into this classic of a classic album. Mm-hmm. But before we do, as always, we like to start with our memories. Matt, what is your memory of OK Computer?
I think we talked about it on our The Bins Epipod. It was like they were on the path of potentially being labeled a one-hit wonder after Creep. Then they followed up with The Bins, which critically acclaimed, but, didn't have like the big, huge radio hit, at least here. Like a lot of people, I kind of didn't pay a whole lot of attention to them. It kind of was a little bit dismissive, but you knew some of the songs off The Bins. When OK Computer came out, this was 1997, the year I graduated college. I wasn't keeping up with music as much as I was previously. But what was a great thing then was that was when Charity and I started dating. I lived with 3 other guys, and in those situations, like the only time you have like to hang out by yourself is like late at night, everyone's gone to bed, and we're sitting there in our apartment I shared off Lake Johnson here in Raleigh.
I bet it was nice.
Oh man, this pleather couch we had was amazing. I mean, in the summer you'd take a nap on it and wake up 2 hours later and rip half your face off, stuck to it.
Romantic.
It was beautiful. A lot of what we did was this novel concept of watching MTV. It was still at the tail end of where MTV was showing videos.
Yeah.
We talk about it today, like in a weird way, Paranoid Android is almost like a romantic love song to us.
Oh my
because
gosh.
That video was on, what was the show?
120 Minutes?
Well, no, but there was the...
Headbangers Ball? Real World?
Now you're just spitting out stuff. No, what was the show during the mid-afternoon?
Happy Days? I Love Lucy.
That's it. Yeah, I Love Lucy. It was like Total Request Live or
TRL?
Yeah, so like this wasn't the video that was being played on that. So you weren't like watching for the big hits during the day. Like the videos like this, especially a weird video like Paranoid Android. That's what was getting aired on MTV. Anyway, so we're up hanging out watching MTV, and this video was on a lot during that time.
At first, were you or was Charity a little put off, like, this is weird and gross? And
we thought it was weird, but it grabbed our attention.
Okay, cool.
Having grown up on the Beatles and stuff, it has this, we'll talk about the song I'm sure a little bit, but it's got all these different movements and parts to it, and it just really captured our attention. So that really goes back to really from when this album first came out, and that song and the video and what it meant to us and still means to us.
That's great.
What about you?
So I've got a proposal, Matt.
I'm already married.
Darn you, Paranoid Android. You did your magic again.
How many relationships do you think started on Paranoid Android?
I like the idea of share with your kids. Yeah, we used to listen to this song. Pop it in. They're expecting like life would be a dream or something.
Yeah, that's right.
No, so Matt, we talked about with this album, you can't cover it in one epipod.
No, you can't.
To go song by song or to do a flyover, like everything's been said.
Yeah.
And so we just talked about kind of sharing our moments of the songs that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And so let's just jump into Paranoid Android, because that was your memory.
That is.
And let's kind of see what it was that y'all are sitting on the couch.
Yep.
It's after midnight.
Yep.
You know, an MTV Limp Bizkit ends.
Oh yeah, that's right. In 1997, like maybe
Cisco or
maybe the Cores
yeah.
came on.
This is what y'all experienced. Here's a little taste of the beginning of Paranoid Android. So we're not going to be able to jump in and just play 6.5 minutes, although we want to.
Yeah.
Go listen to this album from start to finish if you have not. But we're going to be hopping around to just moments that really stand out to us.
We hinted at it at the beginning, like this album's like the perfect album for this time, even though it's 25 years old. And we're not the ones to sit here and break down the themes of OK Computer, because a lot of people way smarter than me have already done that. It's almost like Radiohead was so prescient about the proliferation of technology and almost overwhelming presence that computers and devices and all these things play into our lives now more than ever.
One of the themes, as you said, is just the crossroads with technology that the human race found ourselves in, and Radiohead happened to be there looking ahead.
Yeah.
But also somehow capturing a futuristic sound in the 90s that ever since this came out, I thought, this sounds like the future.
Yeah.
And today still sounds like the future somehow.
This wasn't an album that, even though Paranoid Android meant a lot to us and still does, it was still probably several years before I bought the album. So it took me a while to dive into it. So building up to this epipod, I wanted to kind of do some more research on it and figure out what others were saying about it. I found this quote from the New Yorker on the 20th anniversary of OK Computer, so 5 years ago. And it said, if you've ever glanced around a bar or a subway car or a coffee shop and seen dozens of humans all tapping away on a device, foregoing engagement for a mediated and digital experience and felt a deep and intense terror in your gut, then perhaps you've experienced some version of what Tom York's voice is doing here.
Wow.
It goes on to say, other bands have expressed worry about the proliferation of devices and the strange division computers have wrought, but I can't think of another song that sounds as much like a person getting swept up into a black hole.
Gosh, yeah.
I mean, that's
Even when you talked about the fingers tapping, it made me think of the little, like, percussive noises that you hear in the background. And just the voice in the background while he's singing, what's there is the Apple Fred, I think. The voice saying, I may be an android, but I'm not paranoid, which is just so creepy. Yeah. This album's so creepy.
Oh, there's lots of creepiness to it.
I was on this Radiohead thread. And
you started this thread, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. And they were talking about Desert Island Discs.
Yeah.
And they started with the bins because no respectable Radiohead thread's going to start with Pablo Honey as an option for a Desert Island Disc.
Fair.
For me, the bins and OK Computer are everything.
Right.
And I love stuff after that. But
sorry, kids.
Yeah.
Sorry, family.
It was an easy choice because I don't want to sit on a desert island listening to these creepy songs and Fitter Happier talking a robot voice in my ears.
Yeah,
Give me the bins every day if I'm stuck on a desert island.
That's a fair point.
Matt, have you ever met an android?
Who'd say, I'm not one?
Oh, gosh.
Hey.
That's creepy.
Yeah, really.
So this song was inspired by...
C-3PO.
Yep, you watched Star Wars. Tom York was in a hip bar in L.A. and said that everyone around him was just out of their minds on coke.
Yeah.
And he said that kicking, squealing Gucci little piggy, there was this woman who had a drink spilled on her, And he said the way she looked and responded, she was so infuriated, but so twisted.
Yeah.
So she is immortalized by being the kicking, squealing, Gucci little piggy.
They were talking about Karens 25 years before everyone else.
See, predicting the future.
I mean,
it's not about technology. It's about Karens.
Would you want to hang out with Tom York in a bar watching people? Or do you think it would be, you think he'd be insufferable?
Maybe pre-fame. If I had to choose any members of Radiohead to hang out with, it would be Colin and Ed.
Yeah.
Just because if you watch the documentary Meeting People is Easy, Colin does most of the interviews and is always in such a good mood and nice guy. He's so polite.
Right.
Whereas Johnny just seems so like mad scientist in your head. And Tom is up and down, and he's in a really bad place in that film, mentally and emotionally, by all accounts.
Right.
Phil just seems kind of like he's just hanging out. So he'd probably be fine,
He'd probably be fine, too.
And then Ed is like the peacemaker, reminding everybody, hey, they're just trying to do their job, or we just got to get through this.
Two questions. So on Finest Work songs, who's who?
Oh, that's easy. You're the nice guy. We've established this.
You're the other four, all combined into one.
You're Colin and Ed. You're the peacemaker and the nice interviewer.
So you're saying you're the genius behind all the creative stuff, and I'm just kind of the nice guy.
I'm just the mad part of the mad scientist and the mopey part of the Tom York, not the brilliance. Matt, this was their lead single.
6.5 minutes, creepy video.
Multiple parts.
Yeah.
A droney middle part.
I was traveling this week for work, and I'm at night kind of catching up on things, and I've got this album kind of playing, and you're not getting to the beginning of Paranoid Android and necessarily bopping your head and like it's Love Me Do or anything like that. But like the second movement of it gets that rhythm going. But yeah, then they're still working in these weird robot noises and stuff, and it works so cool.
Let's play that part and then play it out, because this showcases just the ferocity of Johnny. All they're playing, but Johnny Greenwood's solo. We talked about that at length on the Bends, but he's back, folks. Come on, man. Who are these guys? I watched some live recordings of that.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. It sounds exactly the same when they do it live. This is not studio tricks. That is just capturing. They do have studio tricks, but they recorded this to tape.
Pretty much like, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what Johnny does. That's what Ed does.
I'm almost picturing, while he's playing that you've got some like roadie standing at his feet just twisting knobs on a pedal.
You'd think Jeff Wood, our guest on the U2 Epipod, he and his brother Matt and I played in bands, but Jeff was lead guitarist and he was into pedals. Pedals now are like craft beer. Back then, you didn't have a lot of boutique pedal companies, and so you're searching pawn shops for old pedals. You're trying to figure out, what is Johnny doing? And that's what you're chasing, is basically Johnny Greenwood is coming up and saying, hey, all of y'all have been drinking cider. Here's your first IPA, whatever, something. It's like he's just mixing everything up. I don't even understand. It sounds like lasers.
Yeah.
There's a shot in Meeting People is Easy, and it's them playing live. And he's on stage, and he's got one foot on this one pedal and reaching across the pedal board his other foot. And he's doing like both feet at different rhythms on the guitar, and meanwhile leaning down. And mad scientist.
That's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
When we were coming along, you had your distortion pedal.
Yeah, your chorus pedal.
Your chorus pedal. Maybe a delay pedal. If you're like a U2 fan like I was.
If you're an idiot like me, you go buy a wah pedal.
Oh, I had a wah pedal.
But why? So you can do chicka chicka.
So you can do the solo to stand.
I guess, yeah. I never could pull that off. For me, it was just a dumb effect.
Yeah.
I bought the worst pedals. I'm pretty sure I bought first the Boss Heavy Metal Distortion, which I didn't want. It's just the one they had. Yeah. And then I bought a chorus pedal, which is also terrible. And then I bought, I think, a wah.
Yeah.
I don't even think I had a tuner.
I got my chorus pedal, And I was messing around with it. I could not figure out, like, I had buyer's remorse immediately. I was like, why did I get this? Yeah. John Jarman, who was in the Funkadelic Chipmunks with me.
Nice.
He said, let me see that. So he grabs the guitar and he starts just doing this very short chord notes on it. It made me realize that the chorus pedal you get if you want to do like Police songs.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, he was playing Roxanne. I was like, oh, yeah, that's what that pedal's for.
That's all Andy had.
Summers is the only reason the chorus pedal exists, I think.
So this was their highest charting single in the UK.
Yep.
And it was 6.5 minutes long. I think it holds the record over there for longest because it was longer than Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yep.
Matt, do you know the longest number one single on the U.S. Billboard charts?
From a time length standpoint.
That's correct.
November Rain?
Good guess. No. I bet that was up there for a while.
Sure.
Think about old songs that just go on and on.
American Pie?
Yep.
Nice.
Well, until Taylor Swift released her Red Taylor's version, which contained a 13-minute version of the song All Too Well.
Oh, my gosh.
Swifties put that at number one. They do whatever they want. The dystopian future and the overlords, it was Taylor Swift he was singing about. It was not a politician.
No. How far out are we from her, like, re-recording other people's albums? Her doing, like,
oh my gosh,
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Taylor's
of her own Taylor's version.
She's the White Album, Taylor's version. Tom York tried to warn us.
He did.
All right, next track that we're going to talk about, as well as the next on the album, number 3 is Subterranean, Homesick Alien. Tom is singing about alien abduction, so we're going to hop right into
Sweet.
Where it gets good.
That they swoop down in a country lane late at night when I'm driving. Take me on board their beautiful ship. Show me the world as I love to see it. I tell all my friends, but they never believe me. They think that I finally lost it completely. I'd show them the stars and the meaning of life. They shut me away, but I'd be alright.
Alien abduction.
Tale as old as time.
He wants it to happen.
He's wistful about it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe sometime I'll just be driving around late at night and they'll take me on their ship, their beautiful ship.
Yeah, it's show me the world, and I'd love to see it. Is he coming from the standpoint in this album of it's a lot of like people who are just worker bees, who are unhappy, who are stuck, soon to be just glued to their phones, and he's basically saying like he's wanting to come alive?
Yeah. Like,
is that what he's saying?
Like,
or does he really want to be probed?
You get the feeling it's like, just take me to another place. Take me to another land.
Let me
forget all my troubles.
Let me understand your plan. People don't know that Arrested Development is
majorly influenced Radiohead.
Yeah, we've heard about Miles Davis Bitches Brew.
Yeah.
We've heard about Pet Sounds.
Yep.
We've heard about DJ Shadow, but Arrested Development.
Yep. That's really where all this started. This album is like pointing out all the fearful, scary kind of things to come. And with this, it's like maybe there's an escape. And I feel like the perception about alien abduction has always been they're the not robotic, but they're just kind of here to do a job. When the aliens come, they're going to come and just kind of wipe out the planet or take us to become workers. Like they're not feeling emotional, sentimental kind of beings. That's always been kind of the theory with aliens coming down. And in this case, he's almost like, maybe, but it's got to be better than where we're heading with the world of technology and disassociation and lack of human engagement and feeling.
Yeah, and I think if someone made the argument, they don't have the emotions, they don't have the heart, they don't have love, and the person singing the song would say, I don't see that.
Yeah.
I don't experience that.
Right. Yeah.
Might as well have a good view.
Yeah, that's right. Ride a cool spaceship.
What would you do if you were abducted? Would you play dead? Would you try to attack him right away?
Oh, well, first I have to figure out if I'm outnumbered, how many.
Why do we always see them as so tiny?
Especially assuming that there might be worlds out there where there's less gravity, so that you could be taller.
Yeah. Haven't they read Gulliver's Travels?
I mean, come on.
They could be huge.
They could be giants.
Yeah. Does that come from people citing
Ooh,
Martians.
maybe.
This is a rabbit trail we could go down, man. The Martian thing. Matt, in I think it was early 2000s, the UFO that was sighted by the Navy pilot.
Oh, yeah.
And it was inexplicable.
The speed and like the way it was moving it defied like physics.
I graduated with that guy from high school.
Really?
I was friends with him like in middle school or elementary school.
No
His
way.
name's Chad Underwood.
Wow.
And so when I heard that, I thought, oh my gosh, not that it removes all doubt, but I believed it anyway, just by the Navy saying, we can't explain this.
Right.
And then, knowing that this isn't some like wacko dude.
Well,
this is Chad.
We've all heard plenty of like the urban legend stories. It's like, this guy my sister went to college with, he saw this happen.
Exactly.
And you're like, well, everyone just happens to know the same person. But at least in this case, it's like a real legit human being.
And he didn't tell me in a bar. I saw it on CNN.
Yeah. They were able to record it. You can see it. And,
yeah.
And like, that's just the wildest video.
Yeah.
It is a little odd that everyone sort of separately who claims to have seen aliens, they do tend to describe them the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they're that far off. Like one guy over here in Indiana sees them and they're like 8 feet tall and hairy and they look like a Wookiee. And then this guy over here,
right,
in Alaska sees them and they're 3 feet tall, green men with big eyes. Like, they all end up
pretty
looking
similar.
the same.
Yeah.
Even listening to that part we played, there's so many layers and noises and sounds, and you realize that they essentially recorded most of this live in Jane Seymour's mansion.
Yeah. How does Jane Seymour have a mansion?
I mean, have you watched Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman?
I mean, I have, but that would be like if you told me, I don't know, the dude from House has a mansion or McSteamy has a mansion. Like, what is it about these drama shows that they would make that much money to own a castle? It's really like a mansion castle.
I think, British law states that if you're a celebrity of any note, you are given a castle or a mansion, a manse, if you will. But it's all part of the federal British policy.
Sure.
So so she's got one. I bet Angela Lansbury had a really nice estate somewhere.
They said they never met her, but that she did leave a note for them to please feed the cats. I wonder whose job that was.
Hello, boys. Please feed the cats.
Matt, part of the approach that we're taking here is self-preservation, because we've done albums before where I've come in here with too much to say, too much information, and feel like it's just clunky and there's not enough time. And this one, I just decided we're not even going to try.
Yeah.
But there are neat things that we can discuss. They started recording this before the mansion in a studio they called Canned Applause, because it was a converted like Apple Shed canned applesauce or something. And apparently they are like the most disciplined band. They practiced songs for I think 5 or 6 months, never recording a note. And so they're just in there crafting day after day, crafting, like they're obsessive. They weren't getting along from a production standpoint. Nigel Godrich was just a co-producer. But then they decided to get him to actually produce it. And he's like 25 at the time?
I think so, yeah.
What? 25 and you're producing OK Computer.
Right.
What do you need to do after that besides walk around and tell people that you did that? But that's when they moved to the
Dr. Quinn Manor.
The Dr. Quinn Manor. That really changed everything. Getting
Well, they got to hang out with kittens and cats.
Yeah. Well, and they weren't going home at night.
Yeah.
Or going out to meet friends.
Yeah, because when they were first starting, they were all too close to like their houses and like you said, friends, and you get all the other distractions.
I'd be interested to see the level of brilliance of an album and the isolation of the band. We talked about Fleetwood Mac.
I was going to say Fleetwood Mac.
They were all living together.
Yeah.
Even the guys and gals.
They weren't just living together.
Yeah. Even when they did go somewhere, it was not far, and all the guys lived together, and Lindsay and Christine lived together.
Lindsay. Lindsay.
Crap, I did not mean to do that.
No. That wasn't a goof.
No,
I thought we were still doing
Christine.
that bit.
I know, we've gotten so tied into that I'm really like losing touch. But yeah, I'd be interested. Exile on Main Street, Pet Sounds, just the level of sort of obsessiveness and being locked away.
You get locked away, and you're either like it produces brilliance and beauty, or you're so tired of being around each other that it drives you insane and causes friction, which can also lead to beauty and wonderful music.
A lot of these are first takes from a vocal standpoint. That's insane that they would be gone and work that hard for that long and then just do one take to capture it.
Yeah, I mean, you put that time in rehearsing and getting these songs crafted and perfected, and it lends itself to the possibility of that happening, but still just unbelievably remarkable that first takes on some of these.
It's like that Abraham Lincoln quote. If I only had an hour to chop down a tree, I would spend the first 45 minutes sharpening my axe, and also have you seen my cool hat? A lot of times the last part gets left off, but it's they spend all that time sharpening their axe.
And I've got a kick-ass beard too. We've talked about this super serious dystopian look at the future. People have lost touch with human emotion. This isn't necessarily an album that you put on when you're feeling low and you need to pick me up. Mm-hmm. Still, there are these moments of kind of humor with them. Karma Police was kind of an inside joke for them. And
the Karma Police will get you.
Yeah. Even just lyrically, there's dark humor to it.
Yeah, I think without that, it would just be too pretentious.
That's right.
They created this undeniably influential, music-changing masterpiece, but they weren't in there like trying to do that.
Right.
They were just guys hanging out who've been playing music together for years, who just happen to be incredible.
A lot of talk about, is OK Computer the Sgt. Pepper of the 90s? Is it their best album?
Yeah. Younger generations love Kid A because that was their introduction. Yep. And I get it, man. Those first notes of Kid A blow your mind, right? I'm fully aware that us talking about OK Computer in this way feels like when we were growing up, someone talking about Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Okay, boomer, or Gen X. But I think the impact it had on music, you look at it from what it means to us, the context in which it was recorded, like nothing like this was happening then.
Right.
Now you look at it, you go, oh yeah, of course things sound like that.
Yeah.
No, nothing sounded like this.
Yeah.
It sounded like the future. And then the impact it had. You don't have Coldplay without this.
Right.
You don't have Muse.
Yeah.
There's the impact of people just trying to chase what they did. And it depends on when you say the Sgt. Pepper's is like, well, from a influencing band standpoint or from a what it did recording techniques or there's so many things. But I mean, this is in the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
I think it's the most recent one, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you might be right about that.
We've covered a few Library of Congress albums. Ziggy Stardust, Purple Rain, Thriller, Nirvana.
Willie Nelson.
Oh yeah, Willie Nelson's in there.
Redheaded Stranger.
Matt, you know who else is in there? I looked in albums, not songs, but albums.
Okay.
The Doors.
Well, hello.
Are in the Library of Congress.
Which album?
The Doors.
I mean,
that's ridiculous.
One of these days.
No, we can't.
One of these days.
We can't do it.
We can't not do it.
Oh, gosh.
We got to break on through and do it.
I kind of feel like we have to because it's in the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
And we need to show why. That's insane. All right, we need more music. We're going to play a little bit of Let Down.
Okay.
We're going to jump into this one.
Not bad.
It's got the brilliance of songs, but it has specific moments that just lift and melt your mind.
And they still do it with so many extraneous sounds and rhythms and everything, like you said, lifting and coming together.
Matt, the guitars in this song are played in 3 different time signatures. Johnny's playing that beginning part, this part. That's in 5/4. And so if you count, and it's hard, if you count to 5 over and over again, then you land. Like, how did you come up with that?
Right.
Anyway, we could go on and on about their brilliance, but that is the impact, is a song like that and a moment like that. It's just no one else could do that.
Yep. You mentioned earlier that the most recent album in the Library of Congress. Again, reading this week leading up to this, I've seen a couple of things where people have said this is the last great guitar-based classic album.
I could see that.
And the fact that it's a quarter of a century old, I can't think of anything else since that would refute that. Not to the level of commercial and critical success. To sell millions of albums and to be universally lauded.
And that's why this album is so rare. Immediately critics said, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Show me a critic who's like, this is trash.
Right.
Yeah, and that's also why Kid A was so disappointing. All I wanted to hear was Johnny Greenwood.
Yeah.
And I just remember watching Saturday Night Live, and my introduction to what he was doing was him up there like a switchboard operator.
Yeah.
Pulling things out, using like Moog synthesizers. No, Johnny, where's your guitar?
Yeah.
Pick it up again. And he does a few albums later.
Right.
He's like, okay, I went to the top of the mountain. Where do I go from here?
Yeah.
Give me that weird synth.
I remember Peter Buck talking about picking up the mandolin.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I felt like I'd accomplished everything I could do with a guitar. I guess that's what happens sometimes with a musician. You get to a point where you're like, I've been playing this instrument 18 hours a day for the last 10 years. I'm over it. Gosh, it'd be something crazy like if, say, you were the best basketball player in the world and you decided to go play baseball.
That's right. It's going to go awesome.
Right.
Fortunately for us, their next step of Kid A was not like Michael Jordan's step into baseball.
No.
As a band, they're just told, you made a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there? You don't want to just do that again. You want to push boundaries. And they did, and it's brilliant. Yeah. Like, I love the direction that they went. In terms of the progression of Benz to OK Computer to Kid A, that's unparalleled.
It's a pretty good 3-record stretch there.
Yeah. Let's check out No Surprises. This has another similar lift moment.
Yes.
This is my final fate, my final bellyache with no alarms and no surprises. No alarms and no surprises. No alarms and no surprises, please. Such a pretty house and such a pretty garden. No surprises, no alarms and no surprises, no alarms and no surprises, please.
Ed called this their Freebird.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. In what way?
I don't know, maybe like a sing-along?
Hold your lighter up with this one?
Yeah, that sort of. They had 16 versions of the song. Not 16 takes, but 16 versions. Even up to 37 takes per version. Not perversion.
Perversion, yes.
And they ended up going back with the very first one.
Wow.
We read about that sometimes.
Yeah.
That happens,
I guess you're happy with that, or are you just like so frustrated that I can't believe we just spent
months and months, and then you go back, the first one was good.
Is there another artist that is associated with a singular instrument as much as the Beach Boys and like a glockenspiel? I hear that and I immediately think of the Beach Boys.
They were inspired by Wouldn't It Be Nice with this song.
Yeah.
And so you imagine if they're listening to Pet Sounds that they're taking sounds like
you're
that.
Absorbing those things.
No, that's a good question.
Yeah.
The Cowbell and Blue Oyster Cult because of that
true.
SNL skit.
Yeah, that's true.
So the mellotron
is
what makes this sound.
Keep breathing. Don't lose your nerve.
What sounds like a chorus of people is the mellotron, right? Johnny couldn't find one. They didn't make them anymore. So he found one from like some band from the 70s or 80s or something. After OK Computer, they started reproducing Mellotrons. I mean, Johnny's use of the Rhodes on this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he single-handedly, but it's all over this album.
Right.
And that became a huge thing for a band, myself included. I got a Rhodes in like 2002, and they were hot, man. To find a Rhodes sound before the keyboards could reproduce them well. Kind of anything they did. Trend-setting. But yeah, I don't know if there's one instrument that you would say that reminds me.
Yeah.
Speaking of, let's just fawn over Johnny Greenwood for a whole epipod. They got a symphony, and they put together a symphonic orchestra. Johnny had ideas, and the conductor is saying, and even the musicians are like, that's not going to work. But he's doing stuff where he's having like everybody play like a half tone off one another to create these chaos sounds. But then he's got this in his head. And he shows it by going on and doing all these film scores and
all just up there in his head.
Yeah. It's not just him. It's Tom and Ed and Phil and Colin. I mean, gosh, man.
Just getting back to the discussion about, is it the last great guitar-based album masterpiece? And it's definitely a tribute to the album. And it's also sad if that's the case.
Yeah.
But kind of in some ways reinforces the whole ethos of this album of looking ahead to a less enjoyable future. But if the future involves fewer albums like this, then they kind of hit on something.
How can an album be so dark in terms of content, but still I listen to it and want to listen to it all the time?
Yeah.
Like it's not depressing to me.
No,
there are other albums that are kind of heavy and dark, and you're like, you got to kind of be in a mood.
Right.
But this isn't like a winter album for me.
No.
Put it on any time, and I'm just fascinated by it. And maybe that's it. Because, I think about the Willie Nelson album. That's in the Library of Congress, and that's a dark album.
It's a dark album. Yeah, it is a dark album.
But it's also beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's something we could explore about just speaking to the human condition. It can be really beautiful.
And I think that beauty comes in these moments on the album and on really all their albums where they have these lifts. The dissonance and the chaos and the confusion, it all kind of comes back together in these beautiful lifting moments.
But they're not lyrically lifting per se.
No, they're not lyrically lifting.
That's kind of the power of those moments, that they lift you musically to such a degree that you aren't thinking, oh, I'm depressed because of this content.
Right.
That's amazing. I don't know of any other album that does that.
Yeah.
Now we have probably the biggest challenge that we've had yet, and that is to, well, probably not. I think I might know where you're going. If you had to remove a track from the album. That's what we challenge each other with. Matt, what would Radiohead do to you?
Oh my gosh. If you didn't remove a song on this album, Tom York would corner you at a pub and start telling you all the terrible things that are going to happen to the world.
But then Colin would come around and have a nice chat.
Yeah.
And a cup of tea.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Yeah.
So either way. But we always challenge one another if you had to remove a song. So, Matt, if you had to remove a song off OK Computer, which one would it be?
I was leaning towards Fit or Happier.
Right.
But I didn't for a reason. We'll get to that. For me, I think it would be Climbing Up the Walls. There are lots of moments on this album that are chaotic and meandering and droning and things like that, and then it all kind of lifts back. I feel like this one just doesn't do that as much.
This is the darkest one, man.
Yeah, and it just I mean, and it should be. It's called Climbing Up the Walls. I mean,
yeah. I got the smell of a local man who's got the loneliest feeling.
It was daunting to go into making that decision on the outset, but then it was actually not as hard. What about you? What would you remove from OK Computer?
I would remove The Tourist. Two reasons. I don't like Fitter Happier, but it's essential.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like listening to it. I don't listen to it.
Yeah.
I've got the gist of it. I don't need that to play. But there's a flow to this album that took Tom 2 weeks to get. And so I don't want to remove The Tourist. But if you removed it, then you would end with Lucky.
Yeah.
And the end of the album would be this. We're standing on the edge.
Yep.
And then it would end.
Yeah.
So to me, that is beautiful.
Then you kind of do an album closer in a Radiohead style, kind of a minor key, very odd, almost like what standing on the edge. What's next?
Yeah, exactly.
It leaves you guessing.
And you just took us through that and say we're standing on the edge.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Now it's time for your senior quote. In the yearbook, beneath your senior picture, you have an opportunity to put a quote, and this quote could be anything you want. Matt, what's your senior quote going to be?
You got a Radiohead quote. You're probably wearing like a Pixies t-shirt in your senior picture to look a little different, something like that. So the reason I couldn't take Fitter Happier off is because this line from that, keep in contact with old friends, enjoy a drink now and then.
I love that you chose
the one happy line
from Fitter Happier.
Stephen Hawking voice saying that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
that's great.
What about you?
We don't say that these absolutely have to reflect us.
No.
We're talking about like from an album, kind of a stereotypical.
Yeah.
So I would take this approach of like the dissident.
If you're a Radiohead fan in high school, there's something different about you.
Yeah. And you're listening to Tom.
Yeah.
And so I would put from No Surprises, bring down the government. They don't speak for us.
Nice.
Because you're just like, I have all the answers.
Yes.
Just wait till I get to college.
God.
And that freshman psychology class and the freshman political science. I'm going to show them.
We'll solve all the world's problems. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks always to the Finest Work fans for engaging with us on social media at Finest Work Songs or our website, finestworksongs.com. And please keep those emails coming to us, finestworksongs@gmail.com. And who knows, maybe we'll read one of your emails in a future Kenny Gmail segment.
I'm tempted to say, we're going to go out on OK Computer and then just play the album in its entirety. But instead, we're going to go ahead and go out with another masterpiece moment from this album. Our theme song is by the incredible band Medium Heat. This track is called Radio, and you should check them out at mediumheat.bandcamp.com. And check out any upcoming shows if you are in the Raleigh area. They are on Facebook at Medium Heat Music.